I'm halfway through my quarterly presentation when Blake Hutchison cuts me off. His voice carries across the conference room with practiced ease. "Warren, hold on a second." Everyone turns. I pause, finger hovering over the clicker. The silence stretches thin. To support our community and help us continue to creating high-quality content, we'd love for you to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps our videos reach a wider audience and inform our algorithm about the type of content you enjoy. If you'd like to stay up to date on our latest videos and be part of our growing community, please hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to share more content with you in the future. Blake leans back in his chair, arms crossed. "Look, I think we need to have an honest conversation here. This company needs people who can still adapt. Not everyone in this room can do that anymore." He pauses. "Lets it hang." Then his eyes lock onto mine. "Let's be real about age. Some of us have been doing things the same way for too long." My face burns. The presentation screen glows behind me, graphs frozen mid-explanation. Nobody speaks. I realize this wasn't a slip of the tongue or bad timing. This was planned. He wanted witnesses. My hands grip the edge of the table to steady myself. I notice Amanda from HR staring at her notepad. The VP of Operations suddenly finds his phone fascinating. Then I see it, Kyle, one of the younger managers, typing quietly on his phone under the table. His screen reflects in the window behind him. He's recording notes. Or maybe something more. Blake doesn't apologize. He doesn't even acknowledge the weight of what just happened. Instead, he smiles that practiced CEO smile and gestures for me to continue. "Anyway, carry on," he says casually, like he just commented on the weather. I finish the presentation on autopilot. My voice sounds distant in my own ears. The numbers I've tracked for months, the strategy I've refined over years, none of it seems to matter anymore. When I click to the final slide, there's polite applause. It feels hollow. After the meeting ends, people file out quickly. A few colleagues catch my eye and look away just as fast. Nobody stops to talk. Nobody asks questions about the presentation. The room empties in under 2 minutes. I pack my laptop slowly, watching the conference room door close behind the last person. My phone buzzes. I expect it to be my wife asking how the meeting went. Instead, it's a calendar notification. 3 of my weekly project meetings have been canceled. No explanation. Just automated messages saying they've been postponed indefinitely. Something fundamental just broke, and everyone knows it except maybe me. By Wednesday, the erosion becomes obvious. The vendor renegotiation project I've led for 3 years gets reassigned to Blake's new hire, a guy named Trevor who started 6 months ago. The email says it's temporary and meant to distribute workload more evenly. I walk past Trevor's desk that afternoon. He's on the phone with our primary supplier, fumbling through questions I could answer in my sleep. He puts the call on hold and asks me for the contact name of their logistics director. I tell him. He doesn't say thank you. Thursday brings another reassignment. The compliance framework I built gets handed to a committee. Friday, my access to the executive budget dashboard gets quietly revoked. I only notice when I try to pull quarterly numbers for a report nobody asked me to write anymore. People apologize in whispers. In the break room, Janet from finance touches my arm and says, "I'm sorry about what's happening." Her eyes dart toward the hallway. She doesn't say more. I realize the public humiliation was just step 1. The slow erasure, this is step 2. That night, I stay late to clear old files. That's when I find it. An email thread forwarded to my inbox by mistake. The subject line reads, "Warren Transition, Timeline and Optics." I open the email chain carefully like it might explode. It's from Blake to Amanda in HR and 2 board members I've never worked with directly. The thread goes back 3 weeks, before the staff meeting, before the insult. The content isn't about my performance. Nobody mentions missed deadlines or failed projects. Instead, they discuss transition optics and making room without triggering severance complications. One line jumps out, "Need to establish performance narrative before exit conversation." My age gets mentioned 3 times. Older leadership models. Generational adaptability gap. Long-tenured employees resistant to change. I read it twice, then a 3rd time. The calculation is cold and clear. They're building a case, layering justification, creating a paper trail that makes my departure look inevitable and justified. The staff meeting wasn't Blake losing his temper. It was theater. Documented theater. I close my laptop. Sit in the dark office. My first instinct is to march into Blake's office tomorrow morning and confront him. Demand answers. Defend myself. But I don't move. Something in me shifts. Confrontation would fit their narrative perfectly. Emotional, resistant, unable to adapt. Instead, I decide to do nothing. Nothing loud anyway. I think back to 23 years ago. I was 31 when I joined this company. It wasn't called Apex Solutions then. It was Baxter and Gray, a mid-sized consulting firm struggling through a merger that almost destroyed it. My first week, half the staff didn't know if they'd have jobs by Friday. I remember staying late to untangle a contract dispute that threatened our biggest client. Nobody asked me to. I just did it because the company needed it. That client stayed. Then another crisis hit, a compliance audit we were failing. I volunteered to lead the remediation. We passed. During the 2008 crash, we had 3 rounds of layoffs. Each time I took on more work from the people who left. I didn't complain. I didn't negotiate. I stabilized what was breaking. The company didn't just survive those years. It grew. Revenues tripled. We expanded into 4 new markets. Blake wasn't even here for most of that. He arrived 5 years ago, hired from a competitor, brought in to modernize our approach. I didn't climb loudly. I didn't network aggressively or polish my personal brand. I just fixed things. Quietly. Consistently. For 2 decades. Now I sit here and realize something. I've prevented more disasters than Blake's ever faced. Monday morning I make a list. Not a resignation letter or a complaint. Just an inventory. I write down every system, process, and relationship I manage that nobody else fully understands. The vendor contracts with unusual clauses negotiated during the 2012 supply shortage. The workaround I built for our legacy billing software that saves us 14 hours of manual processing every week. The informal agreement with our logistics partner that keeps shipping costs low but isn't documented anywhere official. I realize I've been doing something dangerous for years, fixing leadership mistakes without documenting them. When Blake pushed an aggressive timeline last quarter that would have violated our supplier agreements, I quietly renegotiated extensions. When the new CRM system failed to integrate with our client database, I built a bridge script that runs every night at 2 a.m. Nobody knows it exists. I've been the safety net. The invisible buffer between decision and disaster. I stare at my list. 12 critical systems. 8 key relationships. Dozens of small fixes that keep everything running smooth. Then I stop. I don't fix the next thing that breaks. When an automated report fails that afternoon, I don't restart it. I route it through official channels. By the book. Following protocol. The report failure seems small at first. It's a weekly analytics summary that 3 departments use to track customer retention. When it doesn't generate Monday night, I file a standard IT ticket Tuesday morning instead of fixing it myself. By Wednesday, 2 department heads email asking where their numbers are. I forward them to IT. IT forwards them to the analytics team. The analytics team says they don't own that report, it's custom built. Nobody seems to know I'm the one who built it. Or maybe they forgot. By Thursday, the issue reaches Blake's dashboard. It shows up as a yellow warning flag. Data delivery delayed, operational impact TBD. Normally, yellow flags disappear before Blake even sees them. I make them disappear. Not this time. Friday morning, the flag turns red. Customer retention data is now 4 days overdue. 2 departments have made decisions based on outdated numbers. A client meeting gets postponed because we can't provide current metrics. The issue lands on the board's operational dashboard Saturday morning. I know because Victoria Sterling, the board chair, emails me directly, "Warren, can you provide context on the analytics delay?" I reply with facts. Timeline. Impact. Root cause. Custom tool, single point of failure, no documentation, no backup. I don't mention I could fix it in an hour. She doesn't ask. Monday brings a tense executive meeting. Blake's jaw is tight when I walk in. He waits until everyone's seated before speaking. "I want to understand something," he says, eyes on me. "This analytics issue, why has a minor reporting glitch reached the board dashboard?" I meet his gaze calmly. It's not a glitch. It's a system failure. Since it impacts operational decisions across multiple departments, I routed it according to our incident response protocol. For transparency. Blake's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Transparency is important. But so is judgment. Knowing when something needs escalation versus when it just needs someone to roll up their sleeves and fix it. Several people shift in their seats. I stay still. "I've always believed in being a team player," I say quietly. "Following the processes we've established. That's what I did." Blake leans forward. "Sometimes being a team player means going beyond the process. Doing what needs to be done. You know what I mean, Warren? I nod slowly. I do. I've done that for 23 years. The room goes quiet. Blake's expression hardens. Then maybe it's time to remember how. After the meeting, he stops me in the hallway. His voice drops low. Don't make things difficult. Be a team player. I don't respond. Just walk away. Tuesday afternoon, Amanda from HR sends a calendar invite. Career development check-in. The meeting is scheduled for Thursday at 3 p.m. Optional agenda items include long-term goals and retirement planning resources. I accept the invite without comment. Thursday arrives. Amanda's office is carefully neutral. Motivational posters, a small plant on the windowsill, nothing personal. She smiles too much as I sit down. Warren, thanks for making time. We like to check in with senior team members periodically. Make sure everyone feels fulfilled and supported. She slides a pamphlet across the desk. Retirement planning, your next chapter. I look at it but don't touch it. Amanda continues. We also have resources for phased retirement, part-time consulting arrangements, legacy transition planning. Sometimes after a long career, people find it rewarding to step back gradually. Mentor the next generation. Enjoy more personal time. I take notes. Write down every phrase she uses. Phased retirement. Legacy transition. Personal time. She notices. Is something wrong? No. I just like to document conversations. For clarity. Her smile falters. We finish the meeting in 12 minutes. She doesn't offer another appointment. That afternoon my email pings. The sender is Victoria Sterling. The subject line reads, Quarterly Risk Review, Input Needed. She's never emailed me directly before. Victoria's email is brief. She wants to meet Friday morning to discuss operational dependencies and institutional knowledge gaps. The phrasing is careful, almost neutral. But the fact that she's asking it all tells me something shifted. Friday, I arrive at her office at 8 a.m. sharp. Victoria is already there, coffee in hand, spreadsheets open on dual monitors. She's in her early 50s, background in private equity, joined the board 3 years ago. We've spoken maybe twice. Warren, appreciate you coming. I'll be direct. I'm reviewing our operational risk profile, and I keep seeing your name attached to critical processes. The analytics delay last week got my attention. Is this risk new? I choose my words carefully. No. The risk isn't new. It's just no longer being absorbed. She sets down her coffee. Explain that. For years I've maintained systems informally. Fixed problems before they escalated. Covered gaps in documentation and training. That absorption made the risk invisible. When I stopped doing it, the risk became visible. Victoria leans back. Why did you stop? Because informal solutions don't scale. And because I was told to be a team player. Follow process. She studies me for a long moment. I'd like you to document that. The systems, the gaps, the dependencies. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Send it directly to me. This week. I leave her office feeling something unfamiliar. Not hope exactly. More like gravity shifting. I spend the weekend writing. Not an emotional manifesto or a list of grievances. Just facts. Timelines. Decisions. Consequences. I document the vendor contract with the unusual payment terms I negotiated in 2015 when our primary supplier threatened to leave. How that contract saves us $340,000 annually. How nobody else knows the renewal clause requires 6 months' notice, and we're 4 months away from deadline. I outline the bridge script connecting our CRM and billing systems. When it was built. Why it's necessary. What fails if it stops running. The fact that it lives on my workstation and nowhere else. I describe the 3 client relationships I've personally managed for over a decade. The informal agreements. The trust built through consistency. How 2 of those clients have threatened to leave during leadership transitions, and how I convinced them to stay. No blame. No emotion. Just reality, laid out in clean bullets and timestamps. By Sunday night I have 17 pages. Patterns emerge that I never saw clearly before. Single points of failure everywhere. Institutional knowledge concentrated in one person. Me. I send it to Victoria Monday at 6 a.m. Subject line. Operational dependencies, documentation per request. Her reply comes back in 90 seconds. Received. Thank you. That afternoon, Blake starts showing up to meetings he usually skips. Blake's pattern becomes obvious within days. He attends the Monday operations sync. The Wednesday project review. Even the Friday vendor call that's usually delegated 3 levels down. And he compliments me. Publicly. Effusively. Warren's experience is invaluable, he announces during the ops meeting. We're lucky to have his institutional knowledge. People glance at each other. 2 weeks ago he called me too old to adapt. Now I'm invaluable. The compliments continue. Warren's vendor relationships are gold. Nobody knows our systems like Warren. We need to learn from Warren's expertise. Strategic. Obvious. He's building a counter-narrative, trying to reshape the story before it solidifies. But it's too late and it's too transparent. After the Friday call, Trevor, the guy who took over my vendor project, pulls me aside. Blake's panicking, he whispers. He asked me to document everything you've been doing with the suppliers. Like every conversation. Every agreement. Why are you telling me this? Trevor glances over his shoulder. Because I'm not stupid. And because he's throwing people under the bus. I don't want to be next. That night, I get a text from Kyle, the young manager who was taking notes during the staff meeting. It's a screenshot. An internal message thread I'm not part of. Blake's name is at the top. The thread is titled, Adaptability Concerns, Leadership Alignment. My stomach tightens. I zoom in to read. The screenshot shows Blake's message to the senior leadership team. He's repeating the adaptability narrative, framing it as a company-wide cultural issue. We need to have honest conversations about whether our long-tenured employees can keep pace with industry changes. He names 3 people specifically. I'm one of them. The other 2 are Janet from finance and Omar from operations. Both over 50, both with 15+ years at the company. But then I see something else. Attached to Blake's message is a slide deck. The title, Operational Modernization, Board Update. I ask Kyle if he has the full deck. He sends it 20 minutes later. I open the file. It's dated last week, the same week I sent my documentation to Victoria. The deck presents our operational status as strong and improving. Legacy risks resolved. System redundancies established. Knowledge transfer complete. None of that is true. I checked the appendix. The vendor contract I documented? Listed as renegotiated with updated terms. It hasn't been. The CRM bridge script? Marked as migrated to production environment. Is still running on my laptop. This isn't fraud. It's not outright lying. It's overconfidence mixed with omission. Blake presented what he wanted to be true as if it already was. I save the file. Make a backup. Then I wait. Monday morning, I get another email from Victoria. Subject, clarification needed, board materials review. She's attached the same deck Blake presented. Her message is brief. Warren, can you verify the accuracy of slides 7 to 12? Specifically, the statements regarding operational dependencies and system migrations. Please provide status details by COB Wednesday. I read the request 3 times. She's asking me to fact-check Blake's board presentation. To him this looks like routine diligence. To me it's an opportunity. I spend Tuesday building a comparison document. Left column, what Blake claimed. Right column, actual status. Supporting evidence and footnotes. I don't editorialize. I don't say Blake lied. I just show the gap. The vendor contract renewal, claimed resolved, actually untouched. The CRM migration, claimed complete, actually still dependent on my personal workstation. The knowledge transfer, claimed finished, actually never started. Every discrepancy is sourced. Timestamps. Email threads. System logs. I send it to Victoria Tuesday night. Then I sit back and wait for the reaction. Wednesday afternoon, Blake stops by my desk. His smile is forced. Warren. Quick question. What have you been discussing with the board? I meet his eyes. Whatever they ask about. His jaw tightens. I like to make sure we're all aligned on messaging. You know, presenting a unified front. I present facts. That's alignment enough. He stares at me for a beat too long. Then walks away. Blake's behavior shifts fast. Suddenly he's everywhere I am. The morning operations call? Blake joins. The quarterly planning session? Blake pulls up a chair. Even the informal vendor lunch I've attended for 8 years. Blake shows up unannounced. He compliments me constantly. Too much. Too publicly. Warren's been the backbone of this company. Nobody knows this business like Warren. We're lucky to have Warren's steady hand. People notice. I see the confusion in their faces. 2 weeks ago he humiliated me. Now he can't stop praising me. One afternoon, after a client meeting where Blake interrupted me 4 times to reinforce how valuable my contributions were, I returned to find an email from him. Warren, Let's schedule a one-on-one to align on strategic priorities. The meeting is set for Friday. I know what's coming. He's going to ask what I told the board. Try to manage the narrative. Maybe offer something. A title change, a bonus, a project. Friday arrives. I walk into his office. Blake's smile is tight. Warren, I wanted to touch base. Make sure we're on the same page. He pauses. Leans forward. What exactly have you been sharing with Victoria? I keep my voice even. Only what she asks. Which is what? Facts. Timelines. Status updates on systems and contracts. His expression hardens. I need to know you're supporting the team narrative. We're all in this together. I support accuracy. The silence stretches. Blake breaks it with a forced laugh. Okay, well, I think we need to redefine your role. Make better use of your expertise. Here it comes. Blake slides a folder across his desk. Inside is a new position description. Senior Advisor, Institutional Knowledge. I read it carefully. No direct reports. No budget authority. No project ownership. Instead, vague language about providing guidance and supporting transitions. You'd have unlimited access, Blake says, to systems, meetings, data. But you'd step back from day-to-day operations. Focus on the big picture. Mentoring. Strategy. It's a demotion dressed as elevation. A way to strip my authority while keeping me close enough to monitor. I look up at him. When would this start? Immediately. We'd announce it Monday. I close the folder. Slide it back. Then I do something that surprises both of us. I accept. Blake blinks. You accept? Yes. Unlimited access sounds valuable. When do I start? He recovers quickly. Monday. We'll send out the announcement. I stand. Shake his hand. Leave his office. In the elevator, I smile for the first time in weeks. Blake thinks he just sidelined me. What he actually did was give me exactly what I need. Freedom to see everything without the burden of fixing it. By Monday afternoon, the announcement goes out. Warren transitions to advisory role to better leverage institutional expertise. The response is immediate. 3 colleagues message me privately. Are you okay? This isn't right. Do you need a reference? I thank them. Tell them I'm fine. And I mean it. The advisory role is everything Blake promised and nothing he intended. I have no staff, no authority, no deliverables. But I have access. Complete, unrestricted access. I can attend any meeting, review any document, ask any question. And because I have no operational responsibility, nobody worries about what I'm doing. I'm not a threat. I'm just the old guy wandering the halls, collecting stories, observing. I start spending time in places I never had reason to visit before. I sit in on the product development stand-ups. Join the Friday finance reviews. Read the contract negotiations I used to only hear about secondhand. With distance, I see patterns I missed when I was buried in daily operations. I see rushed decisions made without proper diligence. Warnings ignored because they didn't fit the timeline. Risks accepted without understanding the downside. I see Blake's fingerprints everywhere. On the vendor renegotiation that prioritized cost savings over reliability, on the system upgrade pushed through before testing was complete, on the client contract that promised deliverables we couldn't meet. One Tuesday, I'm reviewing archive project files when I notice something. A risk assessment from 18 months ago, flagged as high priority, but marked resolved 2 weeks later. I dig deeper. It wasn't resolved. It was just closed. The underlying issue is still there waiting. I document it. Add it to a growing file I keep on my laptop. That afternoon, Victoria emails again. Warren, can you provide broader context on decision-making patterns over the past 2 years? Board meeting next month. Need historical perspective. I smile. They're not asking about one issue anymore. They're asking about everything. I spend the next week building a timeline. Not just of my work, but of company decisions. I map out Blake's initiatives from his first month to now. The patterns are stark. Every modernization effort prioritized speed over stability. Every cost-cutting measure created new dependencies. Every strategic pivot left gaps that someone, usually me, had to fill quietly. I cross-reference my timeline with financial reports. The correlation is clear. Short-term wins, long-term vulnerabilities. Revenue up, but margins thin. Client acquisition strong, but retention shaky. Systems upgraded, but failure rates climbing. None of this is catastrophic yet. But it's fragile. One shock, one unexpected problem, and the whole structure could wobble. I'm drafting my response to Victoria when I get a call from Omar in operations. His voice is tight. Warren, we have a problem. Fulton Industries just reported a system failure. They're saying it's tied to our integration. Fulton Industries, one of our partner firms. We handle their logistics data processing. What kind of failure? Complete breakdown. Their shipments are stuck. They can't access tracking. They're threatening to sue. I pull up our integration documentation. It takes me 10 minutes to find the root cause. It's tied to the system upgrade Blake pushed through last quarter. The one I flagged as incomplete. The one marked resolved in his board deck. I document everything. Send it to Victoria with a note, related to prior discussion, additional context on modernization timeline. Her response comes back in minutes. Their board is asking questions. Who approved the original implementation? I attach the approval chain. Blake's name appears 7 times. The Fulton situation escalates fast. By Wednesday, their board sends a formal notice, breach of service agreement, demand for remedy and damages. Blake calls an emergency meeting. His face is flushed. How did this happen? Who signed off on this integration? I'm sitting in the back of the room. Someone mentions the system upgrade from last quarter. Blake's expression shifts. That upgrade was reviewed and approved by the entire tech team, he says quickly. I clear my throat. Everyone turns. The tech team flagged 3 critical gaps, I say calmly. The approval to proceed despite those gaps came from executive leadership. Blake's eyes narrow. Are you saying I approved a flawed system? I'm saying the decision to launch before remediation was complete came from the executive level. The approval chain is documented. The room goes silent. Blake looks like he wants to say more but catches himself. After the meeting, Amanda from HR pulls me aside. Warren, Blake asked me to schedule a conversation about your communication style. When? He didn't say. Just said we need to address it. That evening, Victoria calls me directly. Not email. A phone call. Warren, Fulton's board wants to know who was responsible for the integration decision. They're building a liability case. I need names. I give her names, starting with Blake. The next week, I'm asked to provide detailed logs for 3 major projects from the past 18 months. Not by Blake. By the board's audit committee. I send everything. Email chains. Approval documents. Risk assessments. Meeting notes. Every piece of paper that shows who decided what and when. Blake's name appears repeatedly. Not as a villain, just as the decision maker. The person who said yes when the answer should have been wait. The person who prioritized optics over operations. I don't write accusations. I don't need to. The pattern speaks for itself. By Thursday, I hear through Omar that the company's insurance carrier is involved. They're reviewing our liability exposure for the Fulton failure. That kind of review always includes one question. Was this negligence or bad luck? The answer determines whether insurance pays or the company does. Friday afternoon, I'm copying a file when I overhear 2 board members in the hallway. They don't see me. Blake's contract has performance clauses. If this is tied to his decisions, the severance package changes. Significantly. They keep walking. I stand still, file in hand, and realize something shifted. This isn't about my job anymore. It's about his. That night, I get a text from Kyle. CEO's exit package under review. Quiet. Big. The numbers are changing. And Blake knows it. The audit committee requests a meeting. All board members. Blake, the CFO, and me. We sit around the long table in the executive boardroom. Victoria runs the meeting. She projects a timeline on the screen. My timeline, the one I built showing decision patterns. We need to understand the gap between what was presented to the board and what actually occurred operationally. She looks at Blake. Specifically, the statements made in the Q3 operational update. Blake shifts in his seat. Those statements reflected the best information available at the time. Were they accurate? They were optimistic, forward-looking. Victoria clicks to the next slide. It's the comparison I built. Left column, Blake's claims. Right column, reality. The CFO winces. One board member leans forward, squinting at the screen. Warren, Victoria says, turning to me. Can you verify these discrepancies? Yes. Each one is sourced in the appendix. Blake interrupts. With respect, Warren has been operating from a limited perspective. His role was transitioning during that period. He may not have had full visibility. I had complete access, I say quietly. You gave it to me. The room goes still. Blake's face reddens. The meeting continues for 90 minutes. By the end, the audit committee requests full documentation of Blake's decision-making process for the past 2 years. As we're leaving, I overhear the CFO on his phone. Yes, review the compensation agreement. All performance-based clauses. Blake doesn't look at me as he leaves. The announcement comes 3 weeks later. Friday morning. Company-wide email. Blake Hutchison has resigned as CEO, effective immediately by mutual agreement with the board. We thank him for his service and wish him well in future endeavors. The stock price holds steady. No panic. No surprise. Just a quiet transition. People gather in clusters, whispering. I stay at my desk, reading the announcement again. Mutual agreement is corporate language for, we pushed and he didn't fight back enough to make it messy. Omar stops by my desk. Did you know this was coming? I knew it was possible. People are saying you're the reason. I don't confirm or deny. Just shrug. That afternoon, the interim CEO, a board member named Claire, sends a company-wide note about stability and continuity. She mentions reviewing operational practices and rebuilding trust with partners. I get a personal email from her an hour later. Warren, the board would like you to stay on in your current advisory capacity. Your institutional knowledge is critical during this transition. I stare at the message. Current advisory capacity. The demotion Blake gave me is now my job security. I reply, happy to help. That evening, I'm packing my laptop when Victoria appears at my desk. The floor is mostly empty. Warren, walk with me. We head toward the elevators. She doesn't speak until the doors close. We're not finished, she says. Victoria and I ride the elevator down in silence. When we reach the lobby, she gestures toward the coffee shop across the street. We sit in a corner booth away from the windows. The board needs a full post-leadership review, she says, stirring her coffee. Not just Blake's decisions. We need to understand how the company operated under his tenure. What worked? What failed? Why warnings were dismissed? I nod slowly. That's a big project. It is. And we want you to lead it. I blink. Lead it? You have the knowledge, the access, the documentation. And frankly, you're the only one who saw the whole picture while it was happening. She leans forward. We're not asking you to write a hit piece. We need facts, patterns, lessons. Can you do that? I think about the past month. The humiliation, the isolation, the quiet work of documenting truth while everyone else looked away. Yes, I can do that. Good. You'll report directly to the audit committee. Full access to everything, emails, financials, personnel files. No restrictions. We shake hands. As I walk back to the office, I realize something. Blake tried to make me invisible. Instead, he made me essential. The real work is just beginning. I spend the next 6 weeks building the review. I work from a small office the board sets aside for me. Quiet. Private. No interruptions. I document everything. Not with anger or vindication, but with clarity. What failed. Why it failed. How often warnings were dismissed. The pattern of prioritizing appearance over function. The cost of moving fast and breaking things when you're running a company, not a startup. I include Blake's decisions, but I also include context. The board pressure for growth. The investor expectations. The market conditions that rewarded speed. Blake wasn't operating in a vacuum. He was responding to incentives. But he was also ignoring risks. And that's what the review shows, over and over, the same pattern. Risk identified, risk acknowledged, risk dismissed. By mid-February, I have a 94-page report. Charts. Timelines. Case studies. I send it to Victoria on a Wednesday. She calls me Thursday morning. Warren, this is thorough. Painfully thorough. Is that a problem? No. It's exactly what we needed. She pauses. The board is sharing this with our auditors. And with Fulton's legal team. They need to understand what happened. I understand what she's not saying. This report will travel beyond our company. It will shape Blake's reputation in ways he can't control. One more thing, Victoria says. Blake's severance package is being revised. Based on performance clauses in his contract. The numbers are changing again. The revised severance package becomes clear by March. Blake was set to receive $2.8 million, base salary, bonuses, deferred compensation. Standard CEO exit. But his contract included performance clauses. If company performance declined due to leadership decisions, certain payouts could be frozen or clawed back. The audit committee uses my report as evidence. The Fulton failure. The system vulnerabilities. The misrepresented board updates. each one tied to decisions Blake made or approved. His deferred compensation, $890,000, gets frozen pending resolution of the Fulton lawsuit. His performance bonus, another $340,000, gets clawed back entirely. His severance shrinks to $1.57 million. Still significant, but not what he expected. I hear about it through Omar, who heard it from someone in finance. Then I hear about it directly. Blake calls me for the first time since his resignation. My phone buzzes with his name. I stare at it for 3 rings before answering. Warren. His voice sounds different. Tired. Can we talk? About what? About what you wrote. About what you told the board. I say nothing. I'd like to meet. Just to understand your perspective. I think about saying no. But something in his voice makes me curious. Okay. When? Tomorrow. Coffee. We agree on a place. Neutral territory. I hang up wondering what he wants. Apology? Explanation? Revenge? Blake looks older when I see him. We meet at a quiet diner 20 minutes outside town. He's wearing jeans and a sweater, not the tailored suits I'm used to seeing. He orders coffee. Black. I order the same. Thanks for meeting me, he says. His hands wrap around the mug. I needed to talk to someone who was there. Who saw it all. Oh wait. I know you think I screwed everything up. Maybe I did. But I was trying to move the company forward. Trying to compete. The board wanted growth. Investors wanted results. I delivered. You delivered short-term wins, I say quietly. And long-term problems. He flinches but doesn't argue. I know you documented everything. I know what you told the board. I told them the truth. Your version of it. I shake my head. Not my version. The facts. Timelines. Decisions. Outcomes. Blake stares into his coffee. Do you know what this cost me? The frozen severance. The clawed back bonus. The reputation hit. Do you know what it cost the company? Fulton's lawsuit. The client trust. The employees who left because they didn't feel safe raising concerns. He looks up, eyes sharp. You think this is about justice? You're angry because I called you old. That's what this is. I lean back. No. This is about what happens when leaders ignore the people who know better. You had information. You had warnings. You chose not to listen. Blake's jaw tightens. I listened. I just didn't agree. Then you're responsible for the outcome. We sit in silence. He drains his coffee. Stands. Drops cash on the table. I hope you're happy, he says. I stay seated. I'm not happy. But I'm not wrong either. He leaves without another word. In the weeks after our meeting, I start hearing things. Blake's applying for CEO positions. Big companies. Names I recognize. But nobody's calling him back. I hear it from a recruiter friend over lunch. Blake Hutchison's name came across my desk twice this month. Both times, the board passed after initial conversations. No explanation. They just moved on. Ask why. She shrugs. Reputation is currency in these circles. If enough people whisper the same concerns, it doesn't matter if they're proven. The risk isn't worth it. I realize what's happening. My report isn't public, but its conclusions are spreading. Board members talk. Auditors share insights. Lawyers reference patterns. Blake's name is now associated with operational failures. Ignored warnings. Misrepresented performance. Not because anyone's slandering him, but because the facts are documented and circulating. One afternoon, I get a call from a journalist. He's working on a long-form piece about leadership accountability in mid-sized companies. I've heard your name come up in conversations about Apex Solutions. Would you be willing to talk on background? I consider it. What's the focus of the article? How boards are getting more aggressive about holding executives accountable for operational decisions. Apex is a case study, quiet, not scandalous, but significant. I agree to a brief conversation. No names. Just patterns. The article runs 3 weeks later. Blake isn't named, but anyone in the industry recognizes the story. The article is titled, The Cost of Moving Fast, When Executive Decisions Become Board Liabilities. It's published in a respected industry journal. 10,000 words. Detailed. Fair. It describes a mid-sized company, unnamed, where leadership prioritized growth over stability. Where warnings were dismissed. Where board presentations didn't match operational reality. Where one executive's exit triggered a comprehensive review that revealed systemic issues. Quotes from anonymous board members. Anonymous employees. Anonymous advisors. One section hits particularly hard. The challenge wasn't malice. It was overconfidence. Leadership believed they could manage risks they didn't fully understand. When those risks materialized, the damage was extensive and expensive. I read it twice. It's accurate. Uncomfortable. True. Blake tries to respond. He reaches out to the publication, requesting space to provide context. They decline. The piece doesn't name you, the editor tells him. If you respond, you're confirming you're the subject. He can't win. If he stays silent, the story stands unchallenged. If he speaks, he validates it. I hear through the industry network that 3 companies have quietly removed him from consideration for leadership roles. Not because of scandal, but because of risk. His name is no longer an asset. It's a liability. By summer, Blake's financial situation becomes clear. Or at least the outlines of it do. He sells his downtown condo. Downgrades to a smaller place in the suburbs. His luxury car lease isn't renewed. He's seen driving a 5-year-old sedan. Consulting opportunities that seemed promising dry up. Boards that expressed interest go quiet. Speaking engagements get canceled without explanation. I don't take pleasure in it, but I don't feel guilty either. One Thursday, Omar mentions he ran into Blake at a coffee shop. He looked rough, man. Tired. He asked about you. What did he want to know? If you were still at the company. If you were doing okay. Omar pauses. I think he wanted me to tell you something, but he didn't say what. That night, I get an email from Blake. Subject line, request. I open it carefully. Warren, I know we didn't end on good terms. I know you probably don't owe me anything. But I'm asking anyway. I need a reference. Or an introduction. Or just a conversation with someone who might give me a chance. I'm not asking you to lie. Just to consider that I'm trying to move forward. Can we meet? I stare at the email for 10 minutes. Then I reply. Okay. Coffee. Saturday. We meet at the same diner. Blake's waiting when I arrive, same booth, same black coffee. He looks worse than last time. Shadows under his eyes. Suit slightly rumpled. The confidence that used to fill every room is gone. Thank you for coming, he says quietly. I sit across from him. What do you need? Honestly? I don't know anymore. I thought I needed a reference. An endorsement. Something to get my foot back in the door. He laughs bitterly. But I'm starting to realize no one's opening that door. What have you been doing? Applying. Interviewing. Explaining. Every conversation is the same. They're interested. Then they're not. Nobody says why, but I know. Your report is out there. Not publicly, but it's out there. I don't confirm or deny. Blake leans forward. I'm not asking you to take it back. I know you can't. I'm asking, is there anything I can do? Anything that rebuilds trust? With who? With anyone. The industry. Future employers. You. I consider his question carefully. You'd have to own what happened. Fully. No excuses. No blaming the board or market conditions or me. You made decisions. Those decisions had consequences. Until you accept that, nothing changes. He sits back. You think I don't accept it? I think you accept that things went wrong. I don't think you accept that you were wrong. Silence stretches between us. Blake's jaw works. Finally, he nods slowly. Maybe you're right. Our meeting lasts 90 minutes. Blake asks questions. Real questions. Not defensive. Not rhetorical. Just trying to understand. When did I lose you? He asks at one point. The staff meeting, I say. When you called me too old to adapt. That wasn't strategy. That was cruelty. He winces. I was trying to set a tone. Show the team we needed fresh energy. You showed them that loyalty doesn't matter. That experience is a liability. That if someone doesn't fit your vision, you'll humiliate them publicly. I keep my voice level. You didn't lose me because I disagreed with your strategy. You lost me because you treated me like I was disposable. Blake looks down. I didn't see it that way. I know. That's the problem. He asks about the board, the review, the documentation. I explain how the pattern emerged. Not one decision but dozens. Not one failure but a system of dismissing inconvenient truths. You had people who knew the risks, I tell him. You just didn't want to hear it. Because hearing it meant slowing down. And slowing down meant missing targets. So what was I supposed to do? Ignore the board's expectations? Let competitors outpace us? No. You were supposed to tell the truth. To the board. To yourself. You were supposed to say, we can hit these targets but here are the risks. Here's what we're betting on. Instead, you pretended the risks didn't exist. And when they materialized, you acted surprised. Blake's face hardens, then softens. You're right. I did that. It's the first time he's admitted it without qualification. We're standing to leave when Blake stops. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you agree to meet? After everything. Why give me your time? I think about it. Because you asked. And because maybe if you understand what happened, you won't repeat it. He nods slowly. Do you think anyone will give me another chance? I don't know. But not if you keep blaming everyone else. Blake extends his hand. I shake it. As he turns to leave, I say one more thing. Blake, you told me I was too old to adapt. In front of everyone. Remember that? He stops. Turns back. I remember. You were wrong. I adapted fine. I adapted to a situation where my CEO was making dangerous decisions and ignoring warnings. I adapted by documenting everything. By telling the truth when it mattered. Blake's face goes pale. You weren't too old, he says quietly. I was too arrogant. Yes, you were. He walks out. I stay in the booth, finishing my coffee, knowing I'll probably never see him again. Summer fades into fall. I hear through the network that Blake finally accepts a position. Not a CEO role. Not even a C-suite. He's a VP of operations at a logistics company. Decent firm. Respectable. But 3 levels below where he was. The role reports to a CEO younger than him. Someone who doesn't know his history. Or does and doesn't care. I feel a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that he's landing somewhere. Sadness that it took this much for him to face reality. Omar tells me Blake reached out to a few former colleagues, asking for advice on resetting his approach. Listening more. Questioning his assumptions. Building trust. Do you think he learned? Omar asks. I think he's trying to, I say. The Fulton lawsuit settles in October. Our insurance covers most of it, but the company still takes a hit, both financial and reputational. Claire, the interim CEO, uses my review to rebuild operational processes. Slower approvals. More checks. Better documentation. It's not flashy, but it's stable. And slowly the company starts to recover. I get an email in November from an executive search firm. They're looking for board advisors, people with deep operational experience who can provide oversight and challenge leadership assumptions. The recruiter mentions my work at Apex. Your reputation for thorough analysis and institutional knowledge has reached several of our clients. Would you be interested in advisory board positions? I reply, possibly. What kind of companies? Over the next month I take 3 calls. Mid-sized firms. Different industries. All dealing with similar challenges, growth pressure, operational complexity, leadership transitions. I accept 2 positions. Part-time. Advisory only. No executive responsibility. Just oversight. Asking hard questions. Reviewing decisions before they become disasters. The work is quiet. Unglamorous. But it's exactly what I'm good at. One afternoon, I'm in a board meeting for a manufacturing company. The CEO is pushing an aggressive timeline for a system upgrade. It sounds familiar. I ask a simple question. What happens if this fails? The room goes quiet. The CEO starts to answer, then stops. I'm not sure. Then maybe we should know before we proceed, I say calmly. The board chair nods. Let's table this until we have a risk assessment. After the meeting, the chair pulls me aside. That's exactly why we brought you in. You ask the questions no one else wants to ask. I smile. Someone has to. By the end of the year, I'm advising 4 companies. My calendar is full but not overwhelming. I work from home most days. No commute. No office politics. Just quiet analysis and hard questions. My name carries weight now. Not because I'm loud or flashy. Because I'm thorough. Because I tell the truth. Because boards know I'll spot the risks others miss. I get invited to speak at a governance conference. The topic, institutional knowledge and board oversight. I'm nervous. Public speaking was never my strength, but I accept. The room is full. CFOs. Board members. Risk managers. I talk about the importance of listening to people who've been there. About the cost of dismissing warnings. About how growth without stability isn't sustainable. The applause is warm. Genuine. Afterward, 3 people ask for my contact information. One of them is a board chair from a company I recognize. One that just fired their CEO for operational failures. We need someone like you, she says. Someone who sees the whole picture. I hand her my card. Happy to talk. That night, I sit on my porch watching the sunset. My phone buzzes. An email from Victoria. Subject, Thank you. I open it. Warren, the board wanted me to pass along their gratitude. Your work over the past year has been transformative. You saved this company. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just steadily. That's leadership. I read it twice. Then close my laptop and smile. January brings a new rhythm. I'm not at Apex full-time anymore. My advisory role evolved into a consultant position. I visit once a week, review reports, attend key meetings. The rest of the time, I'm working with other companies. I start noticing a pattern across industries. Leaders who confuse noise with competence. Who talk more than they listen. Who prioritize looking decisive over being right. In one board meeting, a CEO presents a glowing market analysis. I ask to see the underlying assumptions. He stumbles. The projections were built on best-case scenarios, not realistic ones. What if the market doesn't cooperate? I ask. He laughs. Then we adapt. With what resources? What's your contingency plan? Silence. The board chair thanks me after the meeting. You have a gift for cutting through bullshit. I shrug. I just ask what happens if we're wrong. Most people skip that question. Over time, I stop correcting leaders unless they ask. If someone wants to ignore reality, I document it and move on. But when they ask, when they genuinely want to understand risk, I give them everything I have. People start asking. More than I expected. In March, I'm asked to consult on a leadership failure at a tech company. The CEO was fired after a product launch disaster. The board wants to understand what went wrong. I review the case. Read the emails. Interview key staff. The pattern is familiar. Warnings ignored, timelines compressed, risks dismissed. The board asks me to present findings. I do. Calmly. Factually. No drama. Afterward, one board member asks, "Did you consult on the Apex Solutions situation?" I nod. Is this the same pattern? Similar. Not identical. But yes, leadership prioritizing optics over operations. The room shifts. Someone mentions Blake Hutchison's name. I don't confirm or deny. But after the meeting, the board chair pulls me aside. Blake applied for a role here 6 months ago. We passed. Now I understand why. I say nothing. Just nod. My reputation is building. Not as someone who destroys careers, but as someone who tells the truth. And in a world where leaders often avoid it, that truth has value. Ironically, I'm now consulted about leadership failures that include Blake's pattern. I never mention him by name. I don't need to. The facts speak clearly enough. Summer arrives. I'm sitting on my deck reviewing a contract proposal when I get a text from Omar. Ran into Blake yesterday. He asked about you. Wanted to know if you're doing well. I stare at the message. After everything, he's still checking. I reply, "What did you tell him?" "That you're killing it. Advising boards. Speaking at conferences. Basically the opposite of retired." I smile. How did he react? He just nodded. Said, "Good for him." I set down my phone. No anger in Blake's response. No bitterness. Just acknowledgement. Maybe he finally learned something. That evening, I think about the moment he tried to erase me. The staff meeting. The public humiliation. The assumption that age meant irrelevance. I don't feel vindictive. I don't feel triumphant. I just feel settled. The truth survived. That's what matters. I realize I never wanted revenge. I wanted truth to survive the noise. I wanted the facts to outlast the spin. I wanted the people who do the real work, the quiet, essential work, to be valued. And somehow in my own small corner that happened. In September, I get an unexpected email. The sender is Blake. Subject, "Thank you." I open it cautiously. "Warren, I know we haven't spoken in months. I wanted to reach out because I finally understand what you were trying to tell me. I've spent this year in a role where I have to listen instead of lead. Where my job is to implement, not decide. And I've learned more in 12 months than I did in 5 years as CEO. You were right. I was arrogant. I confused confidence with competence. I dismissed people who knew better because it was easier than admitting I didn't have all the answers. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know, I get it now. And I'm sorry for how I treated you. You deserved better. Blake." I read it 3 times. Then I close my laptop without replying. Not because I'm angry, but because some things don't need a response. The apology is enough. Whether he changes long-term is his journey, not mine. 2 weeks later, I'm cleaning out old files when I find the email chain from the beginning. Warren transition, timeline and optics. I read it one last time. Then I delete it. I don't need it anymore. The truth is already documented. The outcome is already clear. It's been 18 months since the staff meeting. Since Blake told me I was too old to adapt. Since I started documenting everything that came after. I'm sitting in my home office reviewing a board report when I pause and look around. My calendar is full. My work is meaningful. My reputation is solid. I think about Blake. About where he is now, rebuilding, learning, reporting to someone younger. I don't feel satisfaction in his struggles. Just a quiet recognition that consequences are real. I think about the leaders I advise now, the questions I ask, the risks I help them see, the disasters I help them avoid. I realize something. Blake thought calling me too old would end my future. He thought sidelining me would make me irrelevant. He thought the world moved too fast for someone like me. What he didn't understand, what he couldn't understand, was that experience isn't about speed. It's about pattern recognition. It's about knowing what you don't know. It's about asking the right questions before it's too late. He thought age was a weakness. It turned out to be my greatest strength. I close my laptop, pour a cup of coffee, look out at the quiet street. He tried to end my career. Instead, he ended his own. And I'm just getting started.